once again to South Atlantic Wrestling. I'm Ted Webb, and I tell you, we've got a fantastic card for you tonight. You'll see Curtis Thompson taking on Vince Torrelli in our main event, and an honor and a pleasure joining me at ringside tonight to bring you the color commentary, the legendary Mr. Wrestling. How are you, my friend?
I'm just fine. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, there's a special occasion for me. I asked to be on this program. There's just a few things I want to say. Occasionally in your life, you see somebody that's really exceptional in the things that you hold most treasured to yourself. I'd like to call Vince Torrelli out here for just a moment. Vince?
Vince Torrelli. How about a nice hand for Vince Torrelli?
I don't know this man real well, but I respect him and I admire him for his dedication to the sport of wrestling. Mr. Wrestling is what I was known as for many, many years, and I took it very seriously. And there's only one other man that ever called himself Mr. Wrestling, and that was my partner, Mr. Wrestling #2. As some of you know, we traveled all over the world. We were world's tag team champions. We wrestled many, many of the toughest people in the world. But this man right here has exhibited some of the finest wrestling moves that I have seen anybody have in the last few years. I just want to congratulate him. I want to say keep up the good work. And one other thing, only I can do this, but I would like to pass on to you the title Mr. Wrestling.
Whoa.
I hope that you'll take it seriously. I know you'll uphold it well, but just think about it. Keep your standards high, keep yourself in shape, and keep up the good work. He's been an exceptional amateur, and he is one of the few that's gone on into professional wrestling and exhibits the highest standards in the world today.
Well, Mr. Wrestler, this is I'm just lost for words. This is great, and all I can do is say thank you very much, and this is an honor, very much an honor.
It's my pleasure, Vince. Good luck.
An honor indeed it is. Let us turn it over to our ring announcer, Fabian Fuentes, and get underway today.
This contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring right now, weighing 260 pounds from Pembroke, here is the War Eagle, Chavis. Weighing 230 pounds from Los Angeles, here is Hollywood Tommy Landell.
Hollywood Tommy Landell taking on War Eagle Chris Chavis in this opening match, and I'll tell you, quite an honor bestowed on Vince Torrelli as my color commentator today. Vince, I'll tell you, he was stunned. Mr. Wrestling has just bestowed the title of Mr. Wrestling to Vince Torrelli, and I have to tell you something. He was spellbound, he was stunned, and that's the first time I've seen the kid speechless.
Well, he's certainly a deserving young man, and if he keeps up like he's going, you're going to see a future world champion. There's no question of it.
No doubt about it. Here's a guy with a wealth of potential. Here's a guy that I'll tell you has improved so much over the past 6 months, and that, of course, War Eagle Chris Chavis. And I think one of the special ingredients, perhaps, that he was missing at first, Mr. Wrestling, was aggressiveness. He had the talent, he knew the maneuvers, but that aggressiveness was something he lacked. He's a little more aggressive now, and I'll tell you, this kid's going to go a lot of places.
I think he is. He's certainly a tremendous physical specimen. There's no question of that, and tremendous athletic talent. A lot of people confuse that, you know, with wrestling. If they look the part, they think that they're great, but that's not always the case. It's the skill, it's the art of wrestling that will always win out, all other things being equal.
Ricky Steamboat tells me that he works out with Chris Chavis at the Steamboat gym in Charlotte, and he says this kid is dedicated not just to going out there and lifting up the steel, but he wants to get on the mat with Ricky. He wants to pick Ricky's brain. He wants to learn, and you can see a tremendous improvement over the last several months.
You've got to be hungry. If you really want something, you've got to be hungry. You've got to go after it, and it takes a while, but eventually you can get there.
Ronnie Hanna's the referee for this opening match. Tommy Landell with a side headlock on War Eagle Chris Chavis. Into the ropes. Whoa, nice leapfrog. Hip block, takedown. did you see that hip lock? Now tell me that man isn't lifting weight on a regular basis.
He is. There's no doubt about it.
Tommy Landell is no small man, and he lifted him up over his head and a super body slam. Landell is stunned and hurt. Trying to get back into the ring, and Chavis says, here, let me help you. That's part of that aggressiveness I was telling you about, Mr. Wrestling.
I'm certainly glad to see Rick work with him. You know, I don't know if you've ever been over to Steamboat's gymnasium, but he's got quite a place.
Quite a place.
And one of the other people over there that's helping is one of his right-hand men is Abe Jacobs, who was a great wrestler from New Zealand. A lot of you may remember him.
I remember him well.
He's a fine man, and that's a great place to be. And there are a lot of people over there that are working out, taking health seriously, and I'm glad to see it.
It is a tremendous place to go out there and get your life together, starting with your physical conditioning. Great chop across the throat. Landell was caught square across the throat. And I'll tell you, you take a couple of those tomahawk chops, and that will start wearing down the knees. Applying the pressure right now, asking the fans. They said, give it to him. And Chavis responds. Great kid, too, Mr. Wrestling. In his spare time, there is none besides Torrelli, because Torrelli does his share of it as well. Great arm drag takedown. But War Eagle Chris Chavis spending time talking to the youngsters, telling them the importance of keeping their body in shape, of staying away from drugs. And that's something that the South Atlantic Wrestling Association has dedicated itself, committed itself to do. So if you're out there, and if your group, civic organization is looking for a fundraiser for whatever the reason, but particularly to say no to drugs, count on us. Boy, you talk about a backbreaker. Tommy Landell right now is in pain. He lifted him up way up, square on the back. And now he's getting him up for that suplex. He's got him way up in the air. Boom! Landell square on the back. Chris Chavis putting on a clinic right now on how to wear your opponent down. You know, in the old days, he would have tried to cover him right away. Now he's not doing that. He wants to make sure. Great backdrop.
A lot of wrestlers will play possum, but he's not taking any chances. He's just keeping the pressure on, and he's making sure.
Well,
when he covers him, it's going to be for good. Well, you watch.
He just went into that rain dance, catching him off the ropes with another chop. And I can tell you right now, I sense the end is near. It is. He's going in there for that crucifix suplex. And no one delivers it better than Chris Chavis. War Eagle put this one in the bank. It's over. Ronnie Hanna, 1, 3. It's all over. The winner of the opening match, War Eagle, Chris Chavis. Let's take a look at that one on instant replay on a slow motion camera. Mr. Wrestling, I want you to describe the action as we see it right now, and tell us what's transpired.
He picks him up, got the crotch, got the neck. He holds him up, and then he just lifts his feet, and the weight of both people comes down on the back of the opponent, and that's it. You know he's done for.
We've got a lot more coming up, including this week's episode of Stud Stable with the South Atlantic heavyweight champion, the Tennessee stud Robert Fuller.
Stable edition of this television. You know, there's some important things that have to be taken care of. There's been many contractual agreements that's gone on this week. One of the things that went on last week, and I don't think you had an opportunity to see it on TV, Luther lost his match. I was disgusted with that. I know it disheartened you a great deal too. Let's take care of Luther right now.
I had my doubts about that, boys, right from the get-go, though.
Well, there you go, Luther. Now, you know, you people are going to have the biggest surprise you've ever had in your life, because there's been a signing, as well as there's been a contract torn up. There's another one signed. But before we get into introducing the newest members to the stable, we've got cards and letters in from all over the country. Everybody wondering the unfortunate circumstances that took place with Matt and Matt's injuries. Everybody's wondering and writing in. Matt, how you feeling?
Well, I appreciate all the cars and everything, Robert, but it still hurts.
I bet it does. I'll tell you, there's some other gentlemen that's going to be hurting from it. Let's move things right on along, Matt. You know, there's surprises that takes place in this profession all the time. But being the head of this stable, this organization, the Stud Stable, I'm one of the proudest guys. This is the happiest day of my life, Matt, because I'm going to introduce right now what I think is one of the greatest tag teams of all time. These guys just, man, they're tight together. And I think they're going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to the stable. Let's bring them out here right now, the newest addition to the Stud Stable, the American Bulldogs. Bring them out here, boys. Come on in here, guys. This is terrific. And I know everybody's going to be wanting to know, why'd you sign with the stable? I mean, what brought it all about?
Well,
Why don't you give it to
me and Spike here had our second thoughts about it, you know, because we had all these people behind us. But we came down to a conclusion. We seen the figures on that contract, and we just couldn't pass it up. Look at all these people. These people don't make us no money. When we seen them figures, we said, we're signing with the Stud Stable.
Well, you know what? You're one of the most loved tag teams of all time. It's no doubt about it that this people in this audience, they know you're the greatest tag team of all time. And they're real proud of you guys, and I'm real proud of you, have you into the stable. Are there any other reasons, though, that swayed your mind toward coming into the stable?
That's right, Stud. There is another reason. I'm sitting in the locker room. You listen, Matt. Listen to this. I'm in the locker room with the boys. I see Paul Jones, Vince Torrelli, and Ricky Steamboat sitting in the corner, mingling, talking, and bragging. They're bragging about how they beat you up out in the parking lot. Tell them out there. That's right. They admitted it. I heard them. And that's the other reason why we signed with the Stud.
That was the thing that swayed you right there, wasn't it?
Main thing, yes.
You know what, guys? This merger right here of you fellas into the Stud Stable is going to bring you every championship opportunity that you ever wanted.
I hope so.
We're going to guarantee you this, that you're going to have somebody standing behind your back every second that you need it. You're going to have Matt right there with you. You're going to have me there with you when you need me. And I'm going to tell you what, you better think about this out there, tag teams, and you singles. I'm talking about you, Paul Jones, Ricky Backstabbing Steamboat, and Spaghetti Torrelli. You better know this, boys. You're going to pay for what you did to this man right here. And here's two more guys right here that's got nothing more in mind but to hurt you and hurt you good. You know, I want to end this thing up with a little bit of special here. Apple Core, Baltimore. Who's your friends, guys?
You Stud.
It's beautiful. Get in that ring and tear them up, boys.
This contest is scheduled for one fall. To my right, weighing 230 pounds from Columbia, here is Butch Malone. His partner weighing 210 pounds from Charlotte, Mike Rexx.
I've got to tell you something, Mr. Wrestling.
Their opponents weighing a combined 550 pounds. The newest addition to the Stud Stable. Here are Spike and Rexx, the American Bulldogs.
I don't know what to say. I am stunned. That's twice in this program that someone has been left speechless.
Well, I'm a little shocked myself. You know, the Bulldogs are a really talented crew. They really are a talented bunch, but I hate to see him get pulled into that Stud Stable there.
You know, Mr. Wrestling, you bestowed an honor on a guy that I consider to be a true purist, and that is Vince Torrelli. Torrelli was offered a chance to join the stable, and he says, no, first of all, I can't turn my back on my fans. Number two, I can't turn my back on my friend Paul Jones. You have to respect that quality in a human being. I thought that these guys were carved from the same mold, and I am shocked, I'm disgusted by the fact that they would sell out every one of us for a couple of greenbacks.
Well, you see it happen. Of course, professional wrestlers wrestle for money. Don't ever forget that. But there are higher standards than that, and you've got to uphold them. Certainly, I feel Vince Torrelli is no question about it. Rick Steamboat always has. But I think maybe these boys are a little confused right now. Robert Fuller, I've watched him for a long, long time. You can't trust him.
Butch Malone right now getting the royal treatment right now from the American Bulldogs. Spike and Rexx, and folks, if you just tuned in right now and you didn't get a chance to see the week's episode of Stud Stable, because I know that some of you have written saying that when that happens is when you go for your sandwich. The American Bulldogs have just been signed by Robert Fuller to an exclusive managerial contract. They are now officially members of Stud Stable. And more disappointing news I couldn't lay on you this morning if I wanted to. I'm caught speechless. Ted Webb and Mr. Wrestling ringside. Spike, Bulldog Spike in the ring right now, applying the pressure to Butch Malone, and throws Malone into the corner to tag with Mike Rexx. That's like completely disrespecting your opponent's ability and saying, go ahead, tag out, you're hurt. We've had our time with you.
Well, I'm going to watch these young boys close. I just hate to see talent go bad, turn sour.
There's a newfound viciousness in these guys, too. You can see that they've had a talk with the Tennessee stud and Matt Borne. They're displaying the style that you would expect of Robert Fuller and Matt Borne. Well, I'll tell you what, Matt Borne continues making the accusation, and now these guys claim that they swear they heard Paul Jones, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Vince Torrelli talking about it. I can assure you right now that that was not the work of those three guys in a parking lot somewhere. Somebody may have gotten a hold of Maniac Matt Borne, but it wasn't Ricky, it wasn't Paul, and it wasn't Vinny. We've known these guys too long to think that they would stoop to that kind of tactic.
You're exactly right. I don't know what they're trying to make the public believe, but it's not good.
No, sir. Here, Matt Borne and Fuller lie, and the Bulldogs swear to a lie. And it just goes to show you what people will do for a couple of bucks.
I think you're going to see things liven up. I think you're going to see things really liven up. This is a very interesting turn of events. There's no question of it. I'm not sure which way, I'm not sure what's going to happen. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of tag team competition. Certainly, the Bulldogs are a top team. But I'm just worried about their tactics and what their tactics may become.
No doubt about it. And if you saw a close look that we had of Mike Rexx's chest, he's taken a tremendous pounding with those chops. If you get another chance to get a close-up of it, you will see that it is red. He has been beat on today. Another elbow to the chest. The Bulldogs in action today against Butch Malone and Mike Rexx. Rexx in the ring right now against Bulldog Rexx. So we got a couple of Rexxes in there, Mike Rexx and Bulldog Rexx. Your referee for this event is Byron Richard. Recently, the recipient of the award of the highest accuracy rating by South Atlantic Wrestling. A 96.8%, Mr. Wrestling.
That's fine.
That's the highest rating you can give an official there. He's got him up. Wow.
What a vicious move.
These guys don't look like the same Bulldogs we've seen in action before. And you can see by the reaction of the fans that the fans are not particularly proud of what these guys are doing to Mike Rexx right now. This could be it. 1, 2, 3, it is. And the American Bulldogs victorious in their first outing for the Stud Stable. Let's take a look at this on instant replay on a slow motion camera. And you describe the action as you see it, Mr. Wrestling.
You bet, Ted. I'll pick it up here. Let's go back and take a look at this. All right. He comes off that top rope. All his weight coming across the chest and shoulders for the 1, 2, 3 count. The Bulldogs, they are the winners. They're a tremendous team.
Making his way to the ring right now, weighing 235 pounds from Ackworth, Georgia, here is Ranger Russ. His opponent, weighing 240 pounds from Queens, New York, here is Chuck Roberts.
In action today against Ranger Ross. And boy, what can we say about Ranger Ross other than what we said already? A true American hero, a guy that has defended this country in battle. He has patrolled the jungles of El Salvador. He was involved in the Iran rescue mission and in the invasion of Grenada. And joining me right now, Mike's side, they say acorns don't fall that far from the tree, and we're all familiar with the famous wrestling Dusick family. Wally Dusick joining me right now. Frank Dusick. How you doing, Frank?
Well, Ted, pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. Boy, in my travels around the country, I get to see a lot of professional wrestling. I am truly excited about this South Atlantic Pro Wrestling because what a mix of of veterans and just outstanding young talent.
No doubt about it, and getting better every week.
That's exactly right, Ted. I mean, it's just every time you see it, you see something new. I see things, and I see guys doing things, especially these young boys, and I shake my head and say, gosh, how the sport has changed since the days when I was in time.
How boy, I tell you, they're bigger, they're stronger, and they're faster.
Oh, truly, truly are. But you know what excites me most about South Atlantic Pro Wrestling? Wrestling was always the sport of the people, Ted. It was always the sport that came through the people. If you were a baseball fan, you had to travel to a baseball city that had baseball, or football, you got to travel to a city that has football. Basketball, I mean, I understand Charlotte now has a pro team, but so many of the places don't. But professional wrestling always came out to the people.
Amen.
And with the way things have changed in the last few years, Ted, wrestling too has gone to the bigger cities. So these folks here at South Atlantic Pro Wrestling, they are bringing wrestling back to the people. They have a fundraiser program that has just excited me no end.
No, I'll tell you, they go out into the communities that need help. There's a lot of communities right now that say, you know, we have to build this new gymnasium, we have to do this, and they're wondering how to raise funds, and South Atlantic has been right there for them.
That's exactly right. They've tried candy bars, they've tried bake sales, they've tried yard sales, they've done all these things, but professional wrestling, you know, folks don't realize, but professional wrestling is the #1 spectator sport in America. More people attend professional wrestling matches than all other sports.
7 days a week all over the world. All over the world.
And what South Atlantic Pro Wrestling is doing, they're putting the power of this television station right here, the station these folks are watching right now, along with these great stars, and they're actually bringing the wrestlers right into the small towns. And it's benefiting high school band boosters, the athletic boosters, rescue squads, JCs, Civitans, fire departments, police departments. It's just incredible. And they're bringing the money and leaving it in the community, and it's an exciting thing. It's bringing live entertainment to towns that I say normally would not have that type or this quality of professional sports.
Frank, tell them how the folks can get involved. There's obviously some people watching the program right now that would love to be part of that.
Well, Ted, what they need to do is they need to call South Atlantic Pro Wrestling, and I think there's a number that flashes across the screen, but it's 704-365-1002, and they'll bring professional wrestling right to your hometown and tell you how to do it.
Ranger Ross victorious in this match with Chuck Roberts. Describe the action, Frank.
Oh, right there, Ranger Ross using those martial arts skills. Roberts, a big, tough young man, but came charging in chin first. And Ranger Ross, the seasoned veteran that he is, Ted, he saw it coming, put that boot right up under the chin. 1, 2, 3, and there's your winner, Ranger Ross.
We'll be back with more exciting action on South Atlantic Wrestling. We'll be watching Ricky, the Dragon Steamboat. Don't go away. Frank, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This next match is one fall, making his way to the ring, weighing 235 pounds from Charlotte. Here is Ricky, the Dragon Steamboat. His opponent, weighing 250 pounds from Florence, Alabama, here is Tommy Royal.
Well, if you were wondering who that youngster was, that's Ricky Jr. And boy, I tell you, it just tickles me to watch a young son go out there, take part in his father's trade.
Yeah,
Big footsteps to follow, though, Mr. Wrestling.
Big steps to follow.
By the way, if you just joined the program, at the beginning of the program, the greatest honor that could be bestowed on anyone, Mr. Wrestling came out here and has passed on the name of Mr. Wrestling to Vince Torrelli, and he is still like a little boy with goosebumps all over his body as a result of that, Mr. Wrestling.
Well, he paid me a very high compliment. He told me that I was his hero as he was coming up through the ranks. And of course, I wrestled 16 years amateur before 20 years in the professional ranks, and he spent a lot of time in the amateur ranks. He paid the dues, but he's carrying it on to becoming a top pro, and believe me, he's going to be one of the very best.
Myron Richard is our referee for this one. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in action right now against Tommy Royal from Alabama. Steamboat, truly a unique individual, and I'll tell you what, as an admirer of Ricky's for so many years, it pained me to see Maniac Matt Borne level the allegations that Steamboat, Paul Jones, and Vince Torrelli jumped him one night after the matches when he was alone and injured him. That is just not Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. You know that.
No, and the public knows it too. And I think they've got a pretty good idea of the kind of stuff that Matt Borne is made out of. It's the kind of stuff you find in the stable of the stud farm, right?
Amen. Amen. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, former Mr. North Carolina in 1982, runs the gym in Charlotte, Steamboat's gym. And, boy, I tell you, you talk about a dedicated athlete, a guy that he gets up every morning at 4:45. Now, we know that wrestlers travel all over, and there are times that they don't get home till 1, 2, sometimes 3 in the morning. This man with dedication up at 4:30 in the morning to go open up the gym at 6:30. And, you know, that's dedication.
It is dedication. There's discipline, and it's that type of discipline that's made him the athlete that he is. This is why he is successful. This is why he's good, and this is why so many people admire and respect Rick Steamboat.
Truly one of the greatest. When they write the record books on wrestling, his name's going to be right in there with the greatest ones of all time. Look at this maneuver. Look at this maneuver. He gives. That's it.
Submission.
That is it. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat victorious. Let's take a look at this on instant replay. Mr. Wrestling, I want you to describe the action because this shows you the strength that the Dragon possesses. Describe it as we see it on our slow motion instant replay.
You bet, Ted. He picks the man up. This is a double chicken wing, and all the weight of the man is coming down on his shoulder blades. That is a painful hold.
The Burlington Athletic Stadium is the place to be Saturday night, October 6th, because War Eagle Chris Chavis, Vince Torrelli, the U.S. male Curtis Thompson, Maniac Matt Borne, and Burlington's own Don and Wally Kernodle will be there. They're featured on this 6-match card highlighted by 2 big main events, starting with the Tag Championship on the line. The champs, the Nasty Boys, put their titles on the line against the challenge of the #1 contenders, the American Bulldogs, and then Ricky the Dragon Steamboat will take on the Tennessee stud, Robert Fuller. Vince Torrelli, a tough package to try to handle for anybody.
Hey, Vince Torrelli, he can't touch me. It's just like my song says. You can't touch us, Vince Torrelli. Hey, I'm going to beat you 1, 2, 3 right in the middle of the squared circle, and I'm going to have all those ladies coming after me.
This next action is scheduled for 1 fall. Making his way to the ring, escorted by his advisor, Mr. Paul Jones. Here is Mr. Wrestling, Vince Torrelli. His opponent, weighing 247 pounds from Charlotte, here is the U.S. male, Curtis Thompson.
Well, you know, I'm going to have to get used to referring to Vince Torrelli as Mr. Wrestling. Well, boy, it sounds good saying it. And there's Vince Torrelli shaking hands with Curtis Thompson. Thompson offering a hand to Paul Jones. You know, it has to be a full moon, Mr. Wrestling. Too much for this guy to handle it one day.
Well, we'll see. Time will tell.
By the way, Terry Lynn, our ring lady today, she is the one that is taking the wardrobe back to the dressing room, and quite an attraction herself. There you see her at the right-hand side of your screen. Beautiful woman, stunning woman. Collar and elbow, Torrelli. And Curtis Thompson with the referee Ronnie Hanna for this event. Into the ropes they go, calling for the break. And
2 tremendous physical specimens out there.
Did you see? Curtis Thompson actually broke.
Yeah.
He actually broke at the count. Maybe he was serious.
Maybe.
You know, you want to take a guy like this serious. Mr. Wrestling, this guy's a fantastic competitor.
Yes, he is.
I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. And why he was resorting to the tactics that he was a mystery to all of us. They said he had changed after he had gone to the Pacific Northwest. Torrelli rather cautious right now and saying, I don't believe it either. Look at the smile on Torrelli's face. When is this going to end?
Sometimes a man comes up like Curtis. He's got a lot of ability, but he's anxious. He wants to be the main eventer. He wants to be right up at the very top, and sometimes he'll resort to tactics that he thinks are going to get him there, and they don't. Now, maybe he really has changed the way he says he is.
Well, I'll tell you, if we have to judge by the performance so far in the ring, he certainly has. In the older days, I could have seen that elbow flying to reverse that hammerlock, and you saw what he did. He used a wrestling maneuver to get out of it.
Beautiful.
Well, the fans are loving this one. They give him a nice round hand.
These men have ability.
Torrelli's still a little cautious. I mean, you know, as we all are watching this match right now. Ted Webb and Mr. Wrestling at ringside. Mr. Wrestling, Vince Torrelli in the ring against Curtis Thompson. Torrelli in the blue trunks. Curtis Thompson wearing the shocking pink. And on the count, he throws him into the turnbuckle. Nice little monkey roll. And Torrelli, did you see Torrelli?
And right up on his feet. That's a nice
up on his feet. That's like a cat.
Yeah. That was a nice
Like
move.
a cat. Now, it's going to be moves like that that are going to challenge Curtis's desire to wrestle by the legs. And he goes over there and shakes his hand.
You'll find a top wrestler is always very alert. He never wants to get himself in a bad position if possible, and he'll come up ready. The ones that don't come up prepared are the guys that'll get suckered into something.
Well, you know, times are changing. We're now friends with the Russians, and Curtis Thompson is shaking hands. There's a nice maneuver. Look at this. Look at Torrelli, I think, is stunned right now. I think you made his day by calling him Mr. Wrestling. And then he goes into the ring fully expecting to go into a full battle here with Curtis Thompson. And Curtis Thompson is being the perfect gentleman.
You know, an awful lot of the guys that you hate are still very fine wrestlers.
No doubt.
Don't ever underestimate them. They don't always use it. This is an example here.
Well, you can tell that he's definitely a tremendous athlete, and people that remember him from a long time back will tell you that they were stunned when they saw him come back from the Pacific Northwest. They said, that's not the Curtis Thompson we know.
Well, these are two fine young men who are certainly finely trained. You can look at their bodies and you can tell they are in shape.
And there's the break call, and Curtis Thompson backing away. Torrelli right now, I think, is starting to wonder how long is this going to last. Certainly Paul Jones at ringside is stunned. He's just watching this in amazement. We're seeing a pretty darn good wrestling match right now.
Fine match.
Nice fireman's carry. Nice fireman's carry. Now, see, in the old days, he would have complained that he had his hair pulled. He didn't complain. Just clapped and said, nice maneuver. Torrelli and Curtis Thompson, collar and elbow, into the corner. Referee Ronnie Hanna calling for the break again. And you fully expect at any moment Curtis Thompson to... What did I tell you?
No.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? Whoa! Just when he had Vince's confidence, he caught him sucker punching. He sucker punched Torrelli. He sucker punched Torrelli, stunned him, and rolled him over for the pin, Mr. Wrestling. I knew that this was too good to be true. I knew that this was too good to be true. Torrelli, let's take a look at this again on the instant replay. You described the action.
Yes. This is just too bad. He suckered him. He came down all the way right across his head, drove his head down to the mat, turned him over. I'm very sad to see this. One thing Torrelli, I hope, learns from this. Don't ever underestimate your opponent. Don't ever take anything for granted.
Well, a lesson for Mr. Wrestling, Vince Torrelli, but there's more exciting South Atlantic Pro Wrestling coming up. We're going to be seeing the South Atlantic Heavyweight Champion in action, Robert Fuller. Don't go away.
Here is Bob Emery.
Well, the Tennessee Stud, the South Atlantic Heavyweight Champion, in the ring against Bob Emery, a great competitor. And the Stud accompanied to the ring by a maniac Matt Borne. Borne, who has 46 stitches on his forehead, a cracked vertebrae, 2 black eyes, claims that he was jumped after wrestling matches when he was alone by Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Vince Torrelli, and by Paul Jones. I don't buy it. I don't think anybody buys it. Mr. Wrestling, I know you don't buy it.
No, I don't buy it at all. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know. The Borne's tough. There's no doubt about it. But it didn't take 3 men like the 3 he's saying to do that to him.
Well, it's just not in their nature. That's just not in their nature. The Tennessee stud, Robert Fuller.
No, it's in Fuller's nature.
Yeah, that's in Fuller's nature. I wouldn't put anything past Fuller. Fuller. You know, I'm a little concerned about Maniac Matt Borne being at ringside. I just, you know, after seeing Curtis Thompson, I'm more leery and paranoid than ever before. And I just can't believe that that Maniac Matt Borne is too injured, you know, to not be a factor in some of the matches.
You know, I saw earlier Fuller and Thompson talking together, but I mean nothing friendly, just a few words, but it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It certainly does make me wonder, and especially after watching the American Bulldogs joining the stud stable today. What a shocker that was. Emery catches the champ coming off the ropes. Nice drag takedown at Robert Fuller right now. Boy, he needs to turn this tide around right now, because if Emery could pull off a victory on national TV over the South Atlantic champion,
wouldn't that be sweet?
Stock rising, and it would certainly befit the kind of program we've had today with all the surprises that we've been in for. Ted Webb and Mr. Wrestling at ringside. You're watching the best in professional wrestling, South Atlantic wrestling. The Tennessee stud Robert Fuller in the ring against Bob Emery.
This Emery's a good boy now.
Emery is a tough competitor. He has got a very impressive amateur background from Raleigh, North Carolina, and we get a lot of mail from that part of the country wanting more of Bob Emery on TV. Well, you got him. And you got him in there against a pretty tough competitor, and Robert Fuller. Fuller's an ornery guy. I mean, he's just, you know, nice fireman's carry. Fuller's the type of guy that you'd hate to have as a neighbor. Do you know what I mean, Mr. Wrestler?
Yes, I do.
I mean, you know, you can almost hear the dog barking at all hours, and you'd hate to go knock on his door and say, can you shut that dog up, you know? He just doesn't look like the, or worse yet, if you had a dog barking and he lived next door.
I've known the Fuller family for a long time now. They're a wrestling tradition.
They certainly are.
They've all been great. Buddy, the dad, Ronald, and Robert, the youngest. He's a well-seasoned pro, and of course, now he's champion.
The black sheep of the family. I understand that a lot of the folks in Tennessee are not very proud of the road that this young man has taken.
Yeah. Maybe he's on an ego trip, I don't know, but one thing you can't take away from him, he has talent.
Well, they say that acorns don't fall that far from the tree, Mr. Wrestling, and certainly the Fuller family, very rich in wrestling talent, and Robert Fuller, certainly an exponent of that kind of tradition. Side headlock on Bob Emery. Byron Richard, your referee for this event. Whoa! Firing away, catching him right over the eye. You know, this is the kind of injury that boxers fear, and that is when you detach a retina, and that one was square on the eyeball. Square on the eyeball.
Using a high knee lift.
Tennessee stud using the ropes as well there. Did you see Matt Borne at the ring apron?
Yeah, he's mulling around there. He does not look like he's up to any good.
No, he does not. And I'll tell you, if I were referee Byron Richard, I would certainly keep an eye on what's happening along the ring apron as well as what's happening inside of the squared circle.
Nice move by Fuller.
Now, that's part of that wrestling ability that we were talking about earlier. That certainly is not.
Fuller's keeping the pressure out right now.
Landing that boot to the midsection, catching Emery coming off the roups. Robert Fuller going into that double wing suplex. And he's a toughie. I'll tell you, he's got the belt. He's kept the belt for a while, and there's a reason for that. He's tough. He's good. Going in for that patented Fuller leg lock, and he's got it. He's got that Fuller leg lock. The referee, Byron Richard, checking. Byron Richard checking, and that's it. We do have a submission. The winner, the South Atlantic heavyweight champion, Ron Ron Fuller, or excuse me, Robert Fuller. Robert Fuller. Let us take a look at this one on instant replay. The Tennessee stud victorious. Mr. Wrestling, why don't you describe the action as it comes down to the slow motion camera?
Very happy to, Dan. Now, he picked the man up, suplexed him, then went into the Fuller leg lock. This is a very, very painful hold because Fuller's knee is right across the leg, right across the back of the knee, and it puts a tremendous amount of pressure, not only on the knee, but on the ankle.
Vince Torrelli and War Eagle Chris Chavis have joined us for some closing thoughts. Vince, I have to apologize. Honestly, I too had fallen for Curtis Thompson's line that he had changed his ways. The sucker punch, which, by the way, we have footage of. And I'd like for you to comment as we look at some of the footage of the sucker punch and tell us your feelings.
Well, you know, I stepped in that ring, and I heard him come out here on TV and tell all the people on how he changed and what kind of a person he was now. He hated people to boo him and how he wants people to get behind him. Well, you know, I came out here with a little bit of doubt in my mind. And I guess that was a mistake because you betrayed me and all these people out here. And let me tell you one thing, I won't forget it, and payback will come your way.
Curtis Thompson, watch out. Chief War Eagle, it's certainly some surprising things that have transpired. Accusations against Paul Jones, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Vince Torrelli that they jumped Maniac Matt Borne. We know better.
Yeah, definitely know better. I mean, Stud Stable's trying to get the American Bulldogs. I mean, that's a big surprise. I mean, the Bulldogs going with a stable. You know, I guess there was a lot of money offered there, but still, that's the wrong move. But again, I doubt very, very seriously. Matter of fact, I know that Ricky Steamboat, Paul Jones, or Vince Torrelli, none of those guys jumped Matt Borne. I'm pretty sure that they're just putting a little thing together here, trying to make a story. Matt Borne probably just got in a car wreck or something like that and trying to put a story against all the guys here. But I know a lot better. Bulldogs, you didn't hear that in the locker room. No way at all. You didn't hear it through the guys. You're just making up a story to back the Stud Stable. So you better be ready, because myself, Vince Torrelli, Paul Jones, the Steamboat, we're hanging together and we're staying together as a family. So you better be ready, Stable.
Gentlemen, I can tell you that the fur is going to be flying here as we head into the fall.
Well, let me tell you something. The only way that Paul Jones and myself and Ricky Steamboat or Chris Chavis do anything is in the ring. We don't need to divert to them other tactics. We'll leave that to the Stud Stable because that's the way they seem to like to win. Well, let me tell you something, Stud Stable. You've got a pad here. You want to mess with one of us and you want to double team us, you got all of us. Bulldogs, wrong move.
Gentlemen, we're all out of time. I want to thank you for joining us here. We'll see you again next week. Till then, have yourself a super fantastic week, and be sure to...
Curtis, watch it.
Watch it.